Well, hey everyone, good Monday evening, one and all. You are watching Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel, and getting excited here to get it going once again for episode 69. Now, taking a look at the setup here, you might realize that there's a third pin back here, and I want to kind of start with that. That was sent to me by one of our previous guests. He was on episode 67. His name is Steve Klemkin. And Steve, as you probably know if you saw the show, runs a scholarship called the Coach K Scholarship. It's at his alma mater, Wichita State. The pin is an item that was donated, so he hands out to donors and other folks. It's got 3 autographs on it, and you can kind of make it out there. On the left, at the bottom, is Kyle Troop. The upper autograph on the left is Jason Belmonte. And on the right is Jesper Svensson. Now, in fairness, I did have to, message him and ask if I had those names right, and I did. Now, like I said, Steve discussed the scholarship toward the end of episode 67. It basically rewards one of the Wichita folks for academic excellence, you could say. And if you want to know more details on it or to donate, you can go to that bit.ly address at the bottom there. I kind of made a shorter link for him. It's bit.ly/Coach K Scholarship. It is case sensitive, so make sure that you capitalize the C in coach, the K in the middle, and the S in scholarship, and you'll go to that scholarship page to learn more about the Coach K Scholarship Fund. Well, this was quite a weekend for folks bowling in Minnesota as they saw their 2022 Hall of Fame class get inducted in that state. The inductees include Darren Hansen, who you may know if you're familiar with the Minnesota Junior Bowlers Tour. He runs those events, but also has a sterling bowling resume on top of that. Terry Howe, Maynard Bud Johnson, and Trista Kimmis were all inducted this weekend. So congratulations to all of them for reaching really what is the pinnacle of bowling in Minnesota. Now, in Wisconsin, the Hall of Fame induction is a little ways down the road, but they are starting celebrations in certain places. This is Avon Cole. She is one of 6 inductees this year. The River Valley Association threw a party to celebrate her upcoming induction at St. Croix Lanes on Saturday, and she stopped by the lanes to see the kids competing because they were there for Pepsi regionals. So Cole, along with Ron Vokes, Jim Pault, Dave Labar, the late Phil Downing, and Don Hildebrand will all be inducted in Green Bay this May. The association's Facebook page reports that Cole, who is 96 years old, says she is absolutely going. So congratulations to Avon and the rest of the inductees, and hope you enjoy that celebration in Green Bay coming up later on this season, really. As you know, Bowling with the Fef can't do what it does. It can't exist as is without the support of our valued sponsor, Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet's a family business right over there in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, distributing its quality salsas, relishes, and more to stores in 38 states and Canada. In Eau Claire, you can find it at Festival Foods, Woodman's, Target, Eau Claire Cheese and Deli, and many other fine shopping establishments. If it's not in your neighborhood store, ask for it by name or order today by going to chipmagnetsalsa.com. Chip Magnet Salsa, raise your snack standards. My guest today calls Jim, who is one of the owners of Chip Magnet, calls him Salsa and refers to the two of us as Fef and Salsa. So it's rather appropriate that we, put up the ad before we bring him out. His name is Max Grabara. He's from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And here he is joining us on Bowling with the Fef. Max, how you doing tonight?
Doing super. Fef, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We've talked about having you on for so long, and it's finally here. So I'm really excited to get into everything. Now, the one thing about Max that you need to know is that he was actually bowling with the Fef several weeks ago at the USBC Open Championships, Wisconsin's state version in Green Bay. And I want to talk about that because Jeff Riggles reported over the weekend that Jeff Shavey and Colin Fackler took over the doubles lead with 15-18. That's a lot better than we did. I mean, we weren't even threatening them. We're probably about 300 pins, below their level.
My bad.
So what I want to know is, how badly did I let you down?
I think it's the other way around, buddy. I had an experience that I haven't had very often, and I've had it a couple times this year. Kyle Sherman put it into words good a couple of weeks ago, where just everything fell apart one day. Your arm didn't feel right, your release didn't feel right, and then you'd find it for 2 shots, 3 shots. Oh, I got it. And then everything goes wampus again. I think that I had set myself up. I had been bowling really good this year, in both leagues, all 3 leagues. And I just was hyped up to do well. And I was bowling with a Fef.
Right.
So I didn't want to let you down. And, I first of all let myself down. And you'll never say I let you down, but.
Of course not.
Of course not. And that's the way it goes. You've got a 3-game match. You've got 3 games to do it right. And if you don't, there's no warm-up or practice session. There's no, warm up for 10 minutes, but.
Right.
But yeah, but move on. Well, I've done it for how many years? A long time. And I'll do it again next year. And hopefully I'll have you as a partner, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how, what transpires between now and then. But you're right. Short memory, move on. But, another thing I want to ask you is, do you think any less of me since I had my best set 3 games later in singles?
No, that's the Fef. That's the Fef I'm used to seeing when I see it. I haven't got to see you watch you bowl much in the last couple of years just because of COVID and your schedule and whatnot. But 3-4 years ago, it's like, wow, this guy can bowl, and you showed it at state in singles, of course,
right.
and doubles a little bit in team, but you had to be accurate.
Yeah,
and it helped a lot to have you there to talk to. That made it the adjustments right, but you still got to perform.
I made a couple lucky guesses in there, so I'm glad that you were kind of under that impression. But yeah, that's one of those things where you kind of work through it together, and you do your best to figure it out. It's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Yeah. We've got a comment here. Derek Michaud, what's up, sir? Not too much. I know he's excited. I'm excited because he's going to be on the next show, all the way from the state of Maine. So we'll talk a little more about that, later on in this show. But let's talk about the deal with Pabst. The show is called, Pabst to the Max. You can see the blue ribbon behind you there. What's that all about?
Wow. That's my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was, I think the first beer I ever drank was a Pabst. The deal was, if you run to the refrigerator and get it for him, you get the first sip.
Wow.
And it had the old snap tops that made that noise that you don't ever see again.
Yep.
And once he passed, I started picking up memorabilia. This room's full of mirrors, lights. I can't hang another thing on the wall in here, actually. The kids and Olga had got me the neon light behind me. I bought, that's not Pabst, but it's Jacob's Best. It's something by Pabst, a product. And then I've got glasses. I've got, you name it, coasters. It's red, white, and blue. It's from Milwaukee. That's where my parents originated from. And yeah, that's it. I didn't think it tasted very good 20 years ago, but then I tried it a few years back. I'm like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's what beer should taste like. It's got full body taste, and it tastes good.
Sure.
You may disagree.
Hey, and the other thing is they're big supporters of the PBA now, so that kind of brings it full circle, right?
That just, I love watching that because it's the beer frame. It's the 6 in the row. You see Pabst. It's just, it doesn't get any more bowling than that, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with the World Series of Bowling being down in Wauwatosa this year, Milwaukee.
Yes,
But yeah,
Yeah.
great supporters. I'm happy to see it, and I hope it continues.
Yeah. Look at Sam Lofquist letting me off the hook here. He says it's okay. I was a singles bowler too during my state trip, so now I don't feel quite so bad.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. I was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't make my average.
No, it happens.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
you go in with big expectations. Sometimes you meet them and sometimes not. This is kind of a special week because a show called How We Roll is going to debut on Thursday evening. That's based on the story of Tom Smallwood, a previous guest from our show. But a lot of us in the bowling community are kind of, chattering about it a little bit, wondering what it's going to be like, all that stuff. Is that something that, I guess, interests you? Do you plan on watching anything like that?
What day is that?
Thursday night.
Thursday. Yes, I do plan. Now I plan on watching. Tom Smallwood's story is unique, and I'm very intrigued to listen to his story, even though we know quite a bit about it, but we don't know everything. I mean, who would think you're making cars one day and then you're on the tour the next? And he's been successful. So I'm really interested in that one.
Yeah, me too. I know it's CBS Thursday. As they say, check your local listings, and you can find out when you can see or even stream after the fact How We Roll. Max, when you make a comment on either our social or the Facebook or the YouTube page here, you're always talking about merch. Merch is the big buzzword. So let's give you the reins for a second. If you were in charge of this thing, what would the merch be?
Well, obviously, you got to start with T-shirts.
Okay.
That's the easiest way, T-shirts. And you can make them cheap enough. And all right, so you make $5, you make $5, but you get the name out there. Hats, man. But, a lot of good things are like these cups, these tumblers, and you just get your logo on there and you get your face with no eyebrows, like I said last night on the comment. That's Olga's question, but start simple. T-shirts and maybe some tumblers. Tumblers aren't the cheapest, but they last and they're very popular right now.
Yeah.
Other than that, you got to start somewhere, right?
Can you see this was totally self-serving because I didn't really know where to start?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
At least we get some ideas on tape here, so I can think about it from there. And as far as having no eyebrows, I never really gave that a second thought.
Really?
Jim and Chip Magnet, they came out with the logo, and it's probably just as well because I feel like my eyebrows are starting to go gray, and there's no there's no need to include that on a pristine picture of myself like that logo.
Sure.
So I'll go with that. Let's get into your bowling story. Tell me about the circumstances behind where, when, and why you started in our sport.
Well, where I started was in a little 4-lane house in Greenwood, Wisconsin called the Blue Mirror Bar and Bowl, which you surprisingly are aware of.
Oh, yeah.
Familiar with. 4-lane house, above ground ball returns. Yeah, there it is.
Like that?
Oh, wow. And changed.
I came prepared.
You did. To the right of that door, we always walked up, and we had to go in the side door because we weren't of age. And that's if you go from the windows on the left to the door, that's about as wide as the lanes were.
Okay.
I'm very interesting.
Everybody wants to see inside.
Oh,
too, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
Wow. The blue walls, the carpeting. Oh my goodness. That brings back memories. Yeah. Tough place sometimes because you get over to lane 4 there and the ball returns in the way for 10 pins. You kick the heck out of that. For lefties, the wall was right there. And even if you had to throw it a 7-pin, you were right up against the wall. And because, if you moved over that far, 7 pins weren't as big a deal as 10 pins. But in lane 1, or I should say 2, from left to right, 1, 2, that ball return would get in the way too for 10 pins. So you had to figure out how to throw straighter at those 10 pins, which I did, which probably made me a better bowler. But that's where I started. My dad he owned his own bakery in town, which was 1 block down from the bowling alley. on a corner. And so he worked nights. I had one afternoon, one day to do something with him. So we had, with the other three siblings I have, it was roller skating or go bowling, or in the summer or something, we'd go out to the range and shoot guns. My dad was an avid gun collector, shot, and that's how I got into hunting too. But so my dad taught me how to bowl. And I used this tip this last week. Someone was asking me, how do you throw a hook? What does it feel like? And it's like he gave me a tip once, and you know, you watch your dad throw a hard plastic ball down the lane, and it goes down there, and then it's like, how do you do that? And I can still see his shit ass grin in his face, because he's like, to this day, and he taught me, and I just fell in love with it, and then got into some junior bowling around 10, 11 years old, and then, which was fun. Not a lot of coaching in that. It was just, you meet up at the Blue Mirror on Saturday at 11 or 10. I don't even think the bowling alley was open yet. And then, because you had to get in and out of there before the 9-pin tournament came, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. And, you know, in pictures, you know, and I think I've told you this before, I've never been inside. But
No.
in this picture, you know, everything just looks so pristine. I mean, do you remember it being, you know, this nice looking and clean and just, you know, the color and all that?
I do. The only thing that's probably missing is on those pieces on the top going across, there was ads, local ads on there, businesses, that type of thing. When I bowled on the table, they actually still had the projectors up for keeping score.
Okay.
Now, we never used those projectors. It was always on paper, always with a pencil, but they used them prior to us, and they still worked at that time. It's just they didn't use them anymore. But okay. And the seating area was these wood benches. You know, they kind of, you go down to 1 and 2, and they'd curve around the corner. And in the back, it had a place for everybody's beverage, and behind that was a couple tables. But yeah, it's always been a clean place,
well maintained. It looks
maintained. Yeah. I want to say that's been the same, not the same carpet on the walls, but it's the same shade.
Yeah.
Now, again, remember, that's a long time ago. And I get in there a couple times a year, but I don't bowl. You know, it's in there during hunting season or whatever, to meet some friends. But I love that place. Spent many days after school with a gal. Her parents owned it, so I could bowl for free. And, you know, I asked some people, do you remember what your first 200 score was? And mine was in that house. I was bowling by myself. It was 202. It was on lane 3. I didn't play different lanes. I played one lane, you know, because lane 3 was probably the best to throw on. But yeah, I did some junior bowling there. We went to Cadott and played there, and we took first place. And I honestly, Pfeff, I did not know what handicap meant. I just went and bowled, and I'm like, oh, we lost. Oh, no, we won. What do you mean we won? Or handicap. I'm like, what's the heck handicap? I didn't know.
Probably better off that way.
Oh, right. I mean, I want to, you know, my feeling on handicap.
Yeah.
I just want to beat you straight up. And I understand it. I get it. I get handicap, but it's, we won't get into that.
So Tim Benavides says hi to both of us, and says he happens to make tumblers, by the way. Ooh.
Does he?
That's interesting. Right. That's very interesting.
Interesting.
Tim and I are going to have to talk.
Someone that makes them too, buddy.
Okay.
He tells them he gives us free shipping. We might go through him.
Business is picking up.
There we go.
Jim says, hey, and wants to know what episode this is.
Oh, Jim, this is 69, baby.
This is episode 69. Oh, so
That's the year I was born. That was the year I was born.
Oh, how about that? All right.
That's why, Jim.
Right. Of course. You said there wasn't much in the way of coaching in that junior program, but was there ever, you know, anyone other than your dad that kind of helped set you on your way?
Oh, no. You know, when I got into high school, it just, you know, we get into other things, obviously. There was no program yet, like there is in Eau Claire. where these guys are bowling till they graduate. I still had my ball. I don't even know if I had my own shoes, to be honest. I had my first ball I bought was a hammered pearl urethane. Bought that from Ribby Hanker, who owned the Blue Mirror, and his name's still on the ball. I still have that ball. That's the ball I threw and got my first 600 at state with a ball that didn't even fit me. That's how out of it I was. But when I met my first wife in 96, I got into a league around that time. And then I met Rich Peterson. As far as coaching, no, not so much. It was just getting a ball that finally fit me, which I did through Jerry Halldorf. So Jerry Halldorf gave me some tips and did some things and to correct a couple things that I was pulling the ball. And since then, I've corrected that through other ways. And now I've done most of my stuff nowadays through YouTube, through Inside Bowling on YouTube with Shannon O'Keefe.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Shady, those guys, if you ever watch them.
Yeah, the backstage bowling people.
Yeah. Reading articles, but watching a lot of, YouTube's great for watching old bowling footage. So I'd say my game has really improved in the last 3 years just because I've slowed some things down. I've done things with my approach, but it's basically been me. I get some tips from people, don't get me wrong, but are those coaching tips or are those what lines to throw?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah. In the stars.
So, I used a pro release, because I had a 4-wheel accident many years ago. So this wrist is weaker, my right one. And I'll get done to the set and my wrist feels like it's going to fall off sometimes. So is it a crutch? I guess. But
I used to use one too, and there was nothing wrong with my wrist.
It doesn't make me better than you. It just makes my technique, I don't know, less error, I guess. But
what I found with it was that it dropped my thumb out of the ball a little faster.
Okay. See, and with me, it's my wrist won't break down.
Yep.
So then I'll drop it. And you can't do that. But
Yeah.
So a lot of it self-taught, little tips here and there from certain people. Al Knoll, good friend of mine who bowls on a couple teams of mine, he gives me good advice. He does a little more hand positioning and I changing that, which I don't like to do, and I shouldn't have to do it because I'm not a professional, as you might think I am. But I always wanted to throw the ball like Tim Benavides, with all that revs and everything, but I can't control it like he can. So
yeah, he even said, like I never coached you.
There he is. And he always thought I was better than him.
Yeah. Sam says this is the nice episode, Jim, and he loves that. Tim said we can work on that as far as tumblers, I'm guessing, and and Jim will give you the tip. I'm guessing.
Jim,
this is bowling, right? Yeah, bowling.
Bowling, yeah.
Right.
Jim, you don't have any tips on your fingers, so.
Oh, there it is. Tell me about, maybe professionals that you looked up to. I know you're a big fan of the PBA now, so I'm assuming that goes back years. Who are the guys who maybe you saw on TV and wanted to emulate or, kind of showed you different ways to do things?
Well, boy, back in the day, ABC Wild World of Sports, I remember Earl Anthony, Norm Duke, Pete Weber, a little bit, they're not that much older than me actually, but they were on TV.
Yep.
But Norm Duke, I always wanted to be able to throw down and in, and now I can do that finally with the right lanes. But back in the day, Amato Monticelli, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He was fun to watch back in the day. But all those guys, Parker Bone, the third, he was a guest on here, and I watched that live, and he answered some of my questions. He is just, I can learn a lot from him, even though he's a lefty.
Yeah.
And he did give me a tip, which helps me out too to this day. But as far as pros now, Norm Duke, like I said, Sean Rash. I'm a big Rash fan.
Yeah.
And Chris Prather, Jason Sterner, because he's a little bit older. I love seeing him in there. Boy, I just wish he could come through here. And Walter Ray, I got to meet him in person. This pin here is signed by him by the demo they did here in Eau Claire that time.
Oh, at Wagner's.
So
yeah.
Yep. And he's just the GOAT,
Yep.
you know. And people might say Belmo is going to be the GOAT. No, Walter Ray's the GOAT. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So pros, I mean, they're all good. If you know that, they're all good. And when you start getting to know them a little bit, like you have last week and the week before and the week, that's huge. And thank you for doing that, because that's a side of the players we don't get to see.
Mm-hmm. And hey, it's I hope it's as fun for me as it is for you guys, because it was a blast for me. You know, I had never been to a national tour event, and you know how thrilling it is to see these guys, you know, do what they do in person and, you know, say hello and chat them up. So yeah, it's incredible. It really is.
And hopefully we'll see you there again. And hopefully they'll bring more events to Milwaukee. But yeah,
for sure. All right. So you're kind of making your way through juniors. You're getting better with experience. When did you first get into maybe tournament competition? You said your first 600 was at state. Was that the first time you had been to a tournament, or was it before that?
Oh, I had done state a couple times at that, but tournament-wise, other than a couple youth ones, that's all my experience was. I couldn't do a lot of bowling once I became 20, in that I started a family really young. So when I got to Eau Claire and met my first wife, she was in a league. So then I called Wagner's. They put me on the list. Rich Peterson and calls me. There's a team looking for a person. Got on a team. They do state. Oh, okay. That sounds really, really exciting. Really, that sounds really important, you know. So I did it. I sucked. You know, in my mind, I should have been a 190 bowler, and I wasn't. And I had a ball that was urethane. It didn't fit me quite right. I was still trying to figure stuff out. I was from Wood Lanes. I think Wagner's was still Wood Lanes then, and then they put that is it urethane or whatever it is over top?
The Guardian, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. But, you know, so I did well at state one year. Jim Callahan and I did. We finished, I think, 10th or 11th one year. So I got a decent check. I got $160, $180 check. I bought a new ball from Jerry. It was a Panther. Don't even know the brand name, actually. And that'd go down there like my dad's. And my average started climbing. And I still financially couldn't do a lot of leagues and whatnot. But then once that came around, and I could get some equipment and whatnot and bowl more, you know, because it's really hard to bowl a high average when you bowl once a week.
Yep.
You know, it's even harder to golf good bowling once a week, but bowling, you know, it's timing.
Yeah.
It's timing. But it's amazing how, you know, I've even seen the transition from the equipment I started with and what my dad had to what it is today. I mean, I'm looking at 12 balls in my rack over there. My dad had one ball, Fef. One ball.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, you know, and it's like, so it tells me these guys are, you know, there's good bowlers, but the equipment is making these guys that much better. I think, who would I watch that you interviewed at the Series of Bowling down there?
Well, there
Anderson?
Andrew Anderson. Yep.
Andrew Anderson. You know, he was the one that said they're all good out here. It's just you got to pick the right equipment for the right time. I think that was him. But you interviewed a lot of guys. But so it's just making my way through leagues. I started in the Big 8. Now we're on Tuesdays and I'm Wednesdays at Bullwinkles and some mixed couples here and there just to get out with a wife and do something. That's really practice myself for I don't know what, but yeah, I'm doing. That's why I was really disappointed with state this year. I'm like, boy, I'm bowling probably the best I've ever bowled, and I get to bowl with a Fef. We're gonna tear it up, and I just whatever. We'll try it again next year. But
Yeah.
No,
No,
you listen to some of the doubles, and the pros. They bowl good, and it just some years you don't.
Mhm.
Most years you don't.
Yeah.
But you never know that one day where everything goes together.
Makes it that much more special.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So as you're kind of, you kind of alluded to the transition that you made into adult bowling and adult leagues. And I asked one of your teammates, Tyler Chamberlain, what it's like having you as a teammate. And he told me that having you on a bowling team is great. Between the jokes, competition, and outright enjoyability that you bring to a team, really helps seal a group together. So tell me what your focus is when you're in a team setting like that.
Oh, number one, have fun. It took me a while you got to mature. You have to mature to bowl. There's very few bowlers like Tyler and friends his age. Now they're getting up there. I wouldn't say they're getting up there. Sorry, Ty. But you can't. You've got to mature. You come out and you expect to throw a strike every time, and you want to be serious. And I expect to throw a strike every time, but I realize it's not going to happen every time. Realize why you left something. Before, I used to get mad, pissed actually. Oh my God, I got robbed. Remember that days? Sure. Oh, welcome to Wagner's, you robbed. No, there's a reason, like Jerry Haldorf says, the reason you left that pin. Yeah. And that's why I'm pretty humble on that when I leave stuff. It's like, now if I throw a bad shot, I can get angry with myself for one shot and then forget it. There's nothing I can do. Pick up the spare, go back, sit down. In the team environment, you can relax a little bit more. You can gel with the team. You can forget about that. But when you're at state, you can have fun, but I'm pretty serious there.
Sure.
But have fun. That's what I love about team environment. Now, when I was a couple years back at Wagner's on Tuesdays, we did a thing where we went back to the team score, an 8-point system. I love that because I could have an off day and Fef, you'd pick me up and Jim would pick me up or someone would pick me up, or I could come and I could try a different style or different line or something. And I could practice throwing that and, oh, you guys are in a little trouble. I could come in and I'm not saying I could strike at will, but you know what I'm getting at.
Sure.
But with the individual head-to-head stuff, you can't do that as much if you want to win.
Right.
And I love that about the team. And the league voted it back. It was kind of 50-50. And I'm like, guys like that head-to-head for some reason. And it's okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Maybe it should be scratch instead of handicap head-to-head. I don't know.
Yeah. And some leagues, even here in town, are like that, and others are not. Our Thursday league is just, the team total score, and that's pretty much it. It's not head-to-head.
That's a big 8, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a little bit different, but, in the end, knock down as many as you can, right?
Right. And I've asked a question a few times on your show to guess pros, amateurs, semi-pros about the handicap system, and they all feel it's pretty fair. I think Jerry had a good point of maybe taking out some scores that are earned earlier that are really low and take them out of your average.
Sure.
I'm sure that would be a logistic nightmare or secretary nightmare, but you come to bowling and you want to win.
Yep. And
like on my Wednesday team, which Tyler's a part of, you want to win. And we have a good team. We just don't win. And we just don't knock enough down. And I don't know if other teams come, oh, we got to bowl good because this is a good team. We're not a great team. We're a good team. So it's a little disheartening to, be at the bottom when I'm carrying a 215, 216 average or whatever it is in that league. I have to bowl that just to make my average fef.
Yep.
But have fun. And, you know, I get to this part of the season. It's March going on April, and have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm not doing this for a living, and I never will be. But I want to do well, but I also want to have fun, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not, you know.
Back to the PBA stuff. Derek says he loves the PBA because they're all accessible and nice, and that's really the experience that I've had too.
It sure looks that way.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been at that event with you. Just to talk with them, just to pick their brain a little bit.
Yeah. David Mendoza says he misses the turkey call on Friday nights. Is there a story behind that?
Well, yes. I was trying to make the league fun, right?
Yeah.
So I brought in my turkey call, which is a gobbler, a turkey gobbler. It's just a rubber diaphragm type thing. People say it looks like other things. And I've got a lot of crap about that sitting on the table. What is that? So if you got obviously 3 strikes, we'd wave that thing in the air and shake it, and people would look. And at first, some teams were distracted, didn't like it. And this was a fun league. It's not even serious, you know. But some people thought it was really serious, so I don't want to be that guy. Now they miss it. So, yeah, that's what the turkey call is.
Gotcha. All right.
Let's see what I got for battery here. I'm good.
Okay.
Hey, Haley.
So let me get back to your progress. Eventually, you end up hitting some honor scores, and they all happen to be in the month of November. Is there anything about November that just suits you, or is it a total coincidence?
November is my peace month.
Okay.
Hunting.
Yep.
So usually when I'm at bowling, I'm talking to guys about hunting, or I'm texting people about hunting, so my mind is in a good place, in a happy place. Yeah. My first blown 300 was on 23 and 24, I think, or 21, 22 at Wagner's.
Okay.
Happened in November. A year to the date, or the week, that same week, the next year, I threw my first 300.
Oh.
And then the next one was many years later, but it was in November as well. And I was asking Jim as he was recording me, he's like, what's the date? He was like, I don't know, 26th or 19th. Okay, it wasn't the same week, but it was November again.
Yeah.
So I just think that's hunting is my peace. That's where I go out in the woods and just find myself and just relax. It takes me away, and I think I'm just more relaxed that month. No, granted, I start bow hunting in October, a little bit in September, so I'm already in that frame of mind. I'm more focused early in the season, and then I think the season just gets long, and all right, I'm not as focused anymore. And I found that out last week, where I really had to focus in order to carry. But that's what November is. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you to elaborate a little more on the blown 300? I think you know what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. Do you? I bet you even pulled up a statistic on it.
Yeah, I kind of did.
Because I actually looked for some information on it, how many had been done.
Okay.
Now, my blown 300 was a 291.
Yep.
There's only one way to do that,
as
we know. So I got up there, and I'm like, and I took another one. That was just enough for this to tighten up, and I should have been rolling the ball over about the 12 board, and I hit about the 20 board at the arrows.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was stay on the lane.
Yep.
And to stay on the lane, I got a 7-pin. And I turned around, I looked at everybody, and they were just disgusted with me, and they were just like, whatever. I'm like, I was nervous. I won't deny it. I still had a ball that didn't fit me real well. I think, no. I can't remember what ball it was that I blew that on. Yeah. I do know what I got my first one on, and that ball definitely didn't fit me. but it worked.
Yeah.
It was a wide grip, but yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers the 291. Very seldom do people remember the two 300s I've had, but
right.
And a couple 299s and 290s, but yeah.
Like you said, it's got to be kind of rare. But I can think of my own, happenings at the end of a string. I had 11 in a row in Milwaukee or Waukesha, 22, 24 years ago. And I was all over the place. This is one of those nights where everything was carrying. So I'm hitting Brooklyn and snow plowing and everything, goes. And I got the first 11, and on the last shot, I probably should have thrown it in the ditch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was that far right, and it ended up coming back and leaving me with a washout. But that stuff happens. I mean, but the 291 thing is just it's unique.
It's a lot of nerves. It's a lot of never been there, never been that far.
Yeah, But then to come back a year later and get it done has got to be pretty sweet.
Oh, it was. That was on Thursday night. I remember the team I was on. I think my teammates were happier than I was.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I believed it,
Sure.
But I did it.
Yeah. Sam says scratch head to head sounds like fun, but the Tuesday league is a little too spread out for averages to do that. I suppose you have to take that into consideration, and also stuff that'll keep guys around.
Right. Yeah. And someone said that me years ago was, if the handicap wasn't where it was, then you wouldn't get the lower bowlers to bowl. And I don't believe that entirely. I think these guys want to come out and they want to bowl and they want to get together. They want to have a good time. And they're not bowling for averages, because these guys' averages are sitting at the same place that they've been for how long.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Go out and have fun.
Yeah.
And I need to have more of a mentality like that. It's like, just go out, like you said, bowl the best I can. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. It's me against the pins, really.
Yep.
But it's, when you go in, and I love to lead off, so you're going to have to give people which, the handicap system comes out where if we both hit our average, I should win. Well, when they get 60 pins, or I'm giving them 40 pins, and they're marking and they're slopping stuff over, it's disheartening. So I try not to watch what other bowlers are doing anymore. I just get up and do what I do, which kind of, I think, hurts me, because then I don't learn some things from the pattern.
Yeah, but that's a good way to think about it, though.
They don't change that much from the last shots.
Sure.
So it's just a matter of making adjustments, and I can watch my teammates. Nobody really has unorthodox styles on my team. My Wednesday team, Dave, does, but and what I mean by watching, not technique, but just the line they're throwing, kind of like what I talked about at State.
State, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Rocky from Milwaukee says he's just checking in. He's in leagues as he is every Monday night, so he will watch the replay, and I thank you for that. So, we were talking about Tyler, and he recalled, when he first met you in the summer league, he said he thought that you were more of an aggressive bowler until he started talking to you. And from there, he said that, you had asked him to sub on the Wednesday night team with Chippewa Valley Energy at Bullwinkle's, and he called it a night and day difference. Do you feel like sometimes you might be a little misunderstood as far as, like you said, having that good focus, but not realizing that maybe people see that in a certain way, but once they get to know you, you have what you have with Tyler?
I absolutely know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I was watching one of your shows, actually, that kind of made me wake up to that fact. And now Tyler bringing it forward again. But yeah, I don't show a lot of emotion out there. I look all business and serious. And you have to plug it in somewhere. And I once, when I was in a mixed couple league, a guy was asking me, was kind of asking something, and I was kind of not really serious or taking him seriously, and I was kind of being sarcastic, and my wife, not Olga, but my ex-wife, she's like, I think he looks up to you and how you bowl, and I think he was really looking for some advice or something, and that kind of made me realize that people do see me differently. Because I used to be, I didn't give a shit what anybody thinks of me or looks at me, and you can't do that when you're successful in league or whatever. I can't remember which guest said it on one of your shows, but they said when you're in league, people gravitate to you if you're good. They come to you for advice. It's tough for me to get out of there on a Friday night sometimes, mixed couples, because some of these guys want to pick my brain or what should I do, and I give them, what I think they should do or what will work for them. I don't give them 10 things. I give them 1 or 2 things, and I hope that I help them. But there's a very fun side to me, and then there's a very fun side to me. So I'm not as serious as I used to be, and I understand why Tyler thinks that, because I get up there on the approach, I'm serious. Very serious, and I got to have 7 seconds of concentration, and sometimes I can't do that because things distract me off the lanes, and I've been working on it. I'm thinking about putting earbuds in some of those other guys, but I won't do that, so I don't hear certain people, certain noises, whatever. I just have to focus, and then it comes down to I'm bowling league. Not so much that I don't care. It's just, okay, lighten up a little bit.
It is what it is.
Right, but I want to do well, Pfeff. I want to throw 300 every game.
Yep.
And there's times you just say, what's the point? And I used to just throw my game away and not even try anymore. And in the last few years, it's finish the game out, figure it out, and strike out. Oh, okay, well, I struck out to get a 180 or 196, which is 20 pins under my average or whatever it is, but I figured it out versus just giving up. And that's what I love about bowling. It's always challenging. Sure. You against the pins in the lane, So I hope that kind of explains that other side or that Tyler was talking about.
Yeah, I think so. And like you said, with the focus, that's important, in this sport as it is in many. Mike Phillips told me that he's seen you, be able to stop their approach, often. He says he often refers to you as the king of the Bock. That's not easy to do, in those last couple steps.
No, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Micah says he can't stop. Jim says he can't stop. I said, you guys can. You have to practice it. And I've done that in open bowling before. I said, okay, let's see what. I don't have a really fast approach, as you know, so it's not that hard for me to stop. All I got to do is squeeze the ball. I'm not going to go over the foul line, and even if I do, I've got the ball.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of moving parts in my delivery, so I can stop. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, or something distracts me off the lanes, which happens a lot. Most times I play through it. But other times I'll stop if it's a shot that I am really focused on, or I want to nail this one, then I'll stop. It's usually hitting my leg or something. My first step's too fast, which I've learned in the last couple of years. Well, just this year actually. Don't get too fast, but yeah.
You have mentioned a couple times about your wife. And she is a bowler too. Tell me about that dynamic a little bit, because as I've said many times, on the show and in conversation, my wife is not into bowling. She's not a bowler. That's just something that I do, apart from, us. But for you two, you're bowling together. She's cheering you on like she did at state. What's that dynamic like?
It's great. My first wife, she bowled in a league. which got me in the league. It was a fun thing to do together. Mixed couples was fun. So Olga never bowled, and she knew how, but she's seen how passionate I am about it and how much I love to do it. So I threw the mixed couples in there. Get a good fun couple. It's fun, and she loves it. As most husbands will say, they won't listen to you. And if they do, they won't remember it. So it'd be better like you come on and, hey, you should try this, and then she'll listen to you. and it's every husband's gonna say, or boyfriend is gonna say the same thing. It's not that they don't respect us or anything. It's just it is what it is. And I hate that saying, but it is.
I feel like I've said that a couple times already now.
Well, but it's a true statement.
Yeah.
Her average when we started the first 3 weeks, she was like at a 96 or a 90. She was under 100. And then she got up to 118. I think now, before COVID, she was up, I can't remember, 146, 150, something like that. That's half of a perfect game there, Feth.
Yeah. Steady progress.
Right. Now, because of COVID, she was off those couple years, mixed couples, or 1 year for sure. We did some summer league. Summer league's a different beast altogether, just because of the humidity and the approaches, and you know how it is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you do. But it's fun. We don't go out to the bars. We don't do stuff. So bowling is what we do when we go out. And we got some fun couples that we do it with. And she'll come up Tuesday and support me. It's a night out for her. She'll sit back there. And then Wednesday, she doesn't come to Wednesday because she works her second job. And I think one night's enough, she says.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
And if you can do it with your partner in life, great. If they don't want to do it, then don't force it. Mike Phillips, his wife's probably been to the bowling alley twice to watch him. Mm-hmm. I think I may have seen your wife once there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was that Andy's wife? I couldn't pick her out of lineup, honestly. Right.
Yeah. But you're right. If it's not their thing, it's just not their thing.
Yeah. I mean, she's my biggest fan, and she's the night that I threw the 300, the last one,
mm-hmm.
She was at a bingo thing. Dave Mendoza knows what I'm talking about. His wife and they do a thing. It's small business owners have this thing. They get together, and I text her, "Oh, sure, the night I'm not there." I'm like, "Yeah, well, sorry." And I've had a 299 that she got to see, and then there was one this year too that coulda, shoulda, woulda. But no, it's great having her there.
Yeah. It looks like you have a little competition in the King of the Bock contest, as Sam calls it. Pat Cater apparently has been able to stop an approach here and there.
Has he? I haven't seen Pat do it yet, but that's a lot to stop at once.
Oh boy.
He's a big guy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So okay, we've talked about tour, past, present, all that good stuff. There are like 2 events left in the season. You've got the USBC Masters, you've got the playoffs. Is anybody going to stop Jason Belmonte from getting another Player of the Year award?
No, not this year. Belmo is, you see it. He is so focused. You remember a couple years back, or maybe even, it was way before COVID. Well, I won't say way, but he made a comment on TV. He's like, I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to smile a lot and I'm going to have fun. And he won then too. Yep. But he is so focused. The guy he had a rough outing. What was it? That last World Series of Bowling where he didn't win it. The second to the last one, whatever pattern that was. But no one's going to stop him. I don't see him. Some guys can give him a run for his money, but he is so focused, and I don't know how a guy can stay that focused because it's a grueling out there.
Yeah, for sure. How about your future in the sport? Where do you go from here? I mean, do you keep doing tournaments? Do you kind of increase that a little bit?
I would like to. Tournaments are tough because anything local here is handicap except for the match games. Mm-hmm. I don't like the match games format in town. because they let bowlers re-enter.
Mhm.
So if you have a bad first shift, you can re-enter. I don't have the stamina to bowl 16 games in one day. I'm almost 53. My joints they are what they are. My back is what it is.
Yeah.
That's why I think state is pretty cool, because it's, 3 games. You don't get a practice session. Well, they don't get match games either, but I would like to do more tournaments, but I don't get any handicap. So I have to bowl 250s, 260s or better. You know what it's like.
Sure.
I would like to go to the Nationals one more time or two. My buddy Ed has talked about going out there. Mike Phillips has talked about going out there. I'm just out of my league, so to speak. It's tough.
Yeah.
I think I average a 180 or 170 out there. I don't even know, and I took it seriously. I wasn't drunk and partying or anything like that. But if the match games would change their format where you only can, I know it's about money. It's all about money. Kind of like why bowling won't be an Olympic sport. It's about money, right? So, yeah. So I've kind of come to terms with, I'm just going to have fun with league. I would love for, say, myself and you, Jim Lucas and Mike Phillips, and maybe a handful of other guys to go hit some small bowling alley blue mirror tournaments, for the day. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Because I think I do believe that I'm past my really competitive state. I kind of missed my window by about 30 years. Well, you think about it. The equipment was different back then, and had I known now what I know now, it might be totally different.
I've said that a few times about my own exploits.
I think everybody has.
Yeah. Let me catch up on a couple of these comments. Derek says that he believes you either need to teach you need to either teach yourself how to balk. And I'd agree with that. I mean, there are times when I feel like I'm a little too far gone to stop, and others when I can stop.
I totally believe that, because I tell Mike Phelps that. I tell Jim Callahan that. Didn't feel right. I said, well, stop. Well, I can't. And then go up there and practice. Just go up there and tell yourself you're going to stop. Yeah. But yeah, he's right. Derek, you got to practice. You got to practice doing it. And even if, it comes down to last ball in the 10th frame, a game that doesn't count, just try it.
Sure. Yeah. And Sam is trying to recruit you to bowl at Falls. Joe hosts a lot of other tournaments during the year, different formats. There's usually a scratch side pot. I'd agree. I've done a few of those myself, and good competition. And there are scratch elements. Sometimes they're all scratch, but the format changes a lot. So
I've done those tournaments last year and the year before. I haven't gone up there this year yet.
Okay.
I think it's my attitude. I haven't done very well up there because I don't get any pins, so I really got to bowl out my butt. But I usually don't get up there till now.
Yeah.
February, March time. But yeah, I know there's some more stuff coming up. I enjoy that bowling up there. Sam always wins though, so he's a tough bowler. And he doesn't get any pins either, but I got him by 30 years, I think.
Oh. Do they give bonus pins for age? I might be in a good spot there too.
Should. That's a long day, Fef.
Yeah. Yeah, for
I don't know how the pros do it when they bowl 8 blocks and 8 blocks. You were there.
I've got to imagine it hurts after a while. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
You've seen this show a number of times. You know that I ask all my guests to go off the sheet and challenge somebody else. Somebody in the bowling community. Doesn't have to be the greatest player in the world. We're talking about people with a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell. So, Max Grabara, who would you like to see as a future guest on Bowling with the Fef?
Oh, boy. I've thought of this for a long time. And you get pros on here quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see some local people. I like to see a proprietor, Eric Platt. I'd love to
Okay.
see him on there. He is so awesome for the bowlers. If you've got an issue, he's going to tend to it. He'll take the time to talk to you. So he's my number one.
Okay.
And then in that same building, the pro shop operator, Ed Reback, I'd like to see to tell his story, because he hasn't been bowling around that much, or that long, I should say. And he's got a really interesting story. But if you were to have some pros on here, which I know you talk to a lot of them,
Yeah.
you know, if you could get Brad and Kyle on at the same time. Now, I know they got their own page and we know a lot about them, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's been anybody that's interviewed them. And I think that would be great.
Yeah.
And get some repeat guys on here.
Yeah. No, those are all great ideas. Brad and Kyle have been challenged before. I haven't really made contact with them, but I'm hoping to at some point. And Eric and Ed, first time challengees, we'll say. But I would love to have either or both on. If you guys are watching, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. We will make that happen and make Max's day by the looks of it. Our next show coming up Tuesday, April 5th, as I said, 6 p.m. Central, Derek Michaud from the state of Maine, getting ready to share his bowling story. Looking forward to that. Max, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Hey,
and
it's
you
fun.
need help on any of those tournaments, you let me know.
I need the merch help, man.
Oh,
you know that.
I'll help you there too. We got to get together.
We're getting that going, though, slowly but surely.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Be just and fear not. We'll see you again next week.